Hello, everyone, and welcome to Author, where I am author and publisher Brandy Hunt. And today, my very special guest is none other than the amazing author Clifton Bryant. Welcome. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for asking me, Edie.
No problem. So, before we jump right in, pun intended, WRITE, before we jump right into all the book writing and everything, just tell our audience a little bit about who you are, what you do, where you come from, all of that good stuff.
Okay, I was born in Chicago. I was raised in Chicago until I turned 17. I joined the Army. I did 23 years in the Army. When my Army tour was over with and I retired, I moved to Mississippi. And I moved there to raise my children. Well, now my daughters are 18, they're in college. So I'm in Mississippi by myself, and I decided that writing was a good hobby, and it was a way of me getting information out to people that I felt was important and being ignored. Um, I am, like anybody else, I'm a concerned citizen, I'm a registered voter, and being an Army veteran, I have a lot of experience on topic matters that we just do not hear anymore. Um, and I think that was the motivation behind me writing.
Okay, so you essentially you didn't start out, the early part of life going, "Ooh, I think I want to be an author." It was after your life experiences kind of made you a messenger of sorts, and you have a different kind of message that you want to start getting out to people. Is that right?
That's correct. Um, Now, in the beginning, I knew I wanted to write, but I didn't have the support that I needed for writing. And when I say support, I mean family. My family actually told me, get a job that pays the bills. And being young, I listened to what they said, but my
Of course.
passion was always in writing. So at the point where I turned 50, it's like the light bulb went off, and I said to myself, I'm gonna start doing things that I want to do. So writing surfaced again, and this time it's here to stay.
Awesome. So, was this in the last couple of years that you reintroduced yourself to the world of being a writer?
Yes, absolutely. I did. I've written so many things for family members, poems, just because I love writing. And I decided that I want my writing to be published. And I wasn't concerned with whether or not it sell. I was more concerned with getting it out to the people. So basically, I wasn't caught up in profit. I was more caught up in people reading it and getting the message.
The impact.
Yeah.
And I believe that the money will follow the impact. So if you keep giving the message, keep giving the message, people are going to keep coming to you saying, "Hey, I need what you're selling," which is your book, which has a very powerful message. So we'll jump right in and start talking about this brand new book that you have that I'll let you tell them what the title is and what it's all about. So what is the title of your new book?
Okay, the title of this book is What We Need, and it has a subtitle, and it says, it's time for the Democrats to hear what the voters have to say. I wrote this book with the agenda of getting the Democratic Party to pay attention to the average voter. As you all know, politicians tell us what they will do for us if they get elected, but they never ask you what you want. And this
Hmm.
goes back to, we can go back to the 80s when they used to ask you what did you want, but they've gotten so complacent now, they'll tell you what they're going to do for you. And if you know anything about how politicians select the topics to discuss, it's what's in the headlines.
Right.
The moderators tell them, we're going to talk about these topics. And the most important topic in this book that has been ignored for basically 2 to 3 decades is poverty.
I agree.
Um, no one's doing anything about poverty. It's like it's a and the thing that people have to understand about poverty is a multi-trillion-dollar industry. Somebody is profiting off of poverty. And
Really?
because of that, they're not going to do anything to help that person come out of poverty. You know, in other words, uh, you're their meal ticket. As long as you stay in need of Section 8, social welfare, the welfare programs, and there's no
Food
way for you
stamps.
to advance, they got you.
Gotcha. I never knew that. So that is a really powerful statement that someone is gaining immunity off of your basically lack of knowledge, because everybody doesn't have to be in poverty. I understand that there are some people who hit some hard times. This year has definitely been one of those hard times. But just because we hit a place doesn't mean we have to stay in that place. And like you said, they're giving you all these things, saying it's good and it looks good, but you're making someone in this world wealthy. What made you want to write something like this?
Okay, you know, where it came from was my daughters. My daughters was here visiting from college, and they were listening to the Democratic presidential candidate debate, which was unusual because my daughters do not like politics. So I go to the bedroom and I ask them what motivated you to watch this, and they said, "Well, we want to know who to vote for." So I started giving them information about who to vote for, and I left. Little did I know that later on, I mean, like 2 o'clock in the morning, I woke up with the idea to write about this. And that's where all of the ideas flowed from that point on. Um, I started writing this book June of last year, and I finished it this year because it's just so much information.
And it's a perfect time for this message to get out, being that we are getting ready to vote. And I won't necessarily ask you what candidate is your favorite, but what do you think some people should look for in a candidate, regardless if they're Democrat or Republican? But what is the characteristics of someone who exemplifies good leadership, exemplifies that I'm here for you and I'm going to listen to you? So what should we be looking for right now?
Right now, we need a leader that's going to listen to the people. Because as I said earlier, um, the was it? That's where I can put it is earlier. I said um, people living in poverty are not being recognized. They're not being listened to. We need a leader that's going to listen to the people, hear them, and most importantly, act. That's what we need. We need a leader that's going to sit back and say, okay, we're going to make this happen. And he put the resources behind it, and it actually happens. That's the most important aspect of a leader. Because if a leader doesn't have integrity, they're not going to be a good leader for us.
Absolutely. So a person who will listen and implement the change that's being requested. And obviously we know they can't implement every change, but there are some things that they are able to implement that they're just simply not. So back to the poverty, what do you think is the number one thing that needs to be changed when it comes to poverty?
The number one thing that needs to be changed in regard to poverty is resources. We have to have the resources so that somebody who says, I don't want to live in poverty anymore, can use the tools necessary to advance.
Gotcha.
In other words, if a person wanted to climb over a wall, we give them a ladder and they climb up the ladder and go to the other side. That is the most important.
That would be an amazing society where you say I have a need to grow. and someone actually goes, here's that thing, without going broke for it, because that's literally that kind of jump, I've had to go on some of those systems, and literally while I was on it, I felt different. It was like a whole different feeling, and it was almost like I felt stuck, and I had to kind of maneuver my way out of it with limited to no help. So I wish I would have been able to say, hey, this is what I want to become, and have that ladder to help me cross over, even with like business classes and things like that. You would think, I was a single mom and had one child, that you would have given me an opportunity to do something like a business course at no additional charge. If you really, for me, I don't think that empowering people is part of the agenda. And that's something that I believe needs to be added into the agenda. You're not trying to empower me. You're trying to keep me stuck. You want me to give you this $8 or $15 a month rent. Who is that helping? That's not really helping anybody. It's got to be some kind of other agenda behind it. So here's your eight, and you can't pay any more than that. So if I say, well, let me pay a hundred, and just pay it all. Oh, no, you can't do that. You can just only pay the $20 or $30 a month you got to pay. It's a system that's designed to keep you that way. So to introduce, hey, help someone cross over, it's almost totally going against the grain. What kind of feedback have you gotten from your book so far?
I received feedback, and just people just say excellent. They're shocked that I mentioned that there's 38.1 million people living in poverty in the United
Wow.
States, and they're like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah," because this is what
Below the
the
poverty line.
Bureau has recorded, and this is before the coronavirus pandemic.
Yep.
So this is what we've been living with, and what has been ignored in our society. Um, People, everyday people, um, with different job skills are saying the same thing. You know, why can't I advance? And the reason why you can't advance is because this is an industry. Somebody has to build a chair for you to sit on and have in your house. And guess who that person is? Poverty stricken person.
Mm.
The person at the bottom is going to make sure the person at the top is living the life of luxury. So we have to change the entire system. One of the changes to the social welfare system is education. We got to educate a person in not the social welfare system, but educate them and the opportunities to advance. And then the second change that needs to take place is motivation. A lot of people are stuck because they've been in the system so long. They don't see themselves with a bright future. And because of that, they stay where they're at. 30, 40 years from now, they're in the same location. They're content with whatever they're getting from social welfare, but they've given up on dreams. And that is the changes that we need to make.
No, that's awesome. I don't know if you speak on this in your book, so if you don't, we could just bypass the question, or you could just give me your personal thoughts on it. How do you feel about entrepreneurship in this season that we're in? Do you believe that that would help some of these people that are in poverty? And not that entrepreneurship changes your life overnight, but do you believe that where the government won't give me help, that being an entrepreneur might help me?
Absolutely. And no, I didn't put it in the book, but I will speak on it. Entrepreneurship is going to be the wave of the future. People are going to say, I don't want to work for AT&T anymore. I've been
Yeah.
doing it for 20 years and all I got was a gold watch out of it. They want to prosper, they want to advance, and most importantly, they want to enjoy what they're doing.
Yeah.
So I believe every person has a gift. And once you realize what your gift is, and you say, okay, I'm gonna start my own business, and this is what I'm gonna do. the door is going to open wide. Um,
Absolutely.
the one thing that the government does have going for it is the Small Business Administration. It's a website
Yeah.
funded by the government, SBA.gov. You go through all the modules. They actually sit down with you with somebody that's been in the business and retired, and they help you start your business. The most important thing is that there is money out there for small businesses, especially for minority women. Money is there. Um, you just have to want that money, and you have to be the one who wants to go get it. Because as you
Yeah.
just said, it's not going
I
to be an
agree.
overnight success,
Right.
but it will be a success.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's why we're sitting here today. I've been an entrepreneur full time only for 1 year, but I started this venture 6 years ago when I published my very first book. I didn't know I was going to need publishing, I didn't know I was going to use publishing as that gateway to get me out of corporate America, but here we are. And it was due to the pandemic that I ended up having to do it full time because I was traveling around the United States, and ain't no more travel. Well, now it is, but when they shut us down back in March, it was like, go home, we'll call you when we need you.
Right.
Well, what? I'm not going back into the welfare system. That's one. I'm way past that. I know how to make money. I'm scared, but here we are. And so it's like, okay, use the gifts and talents that I have in my hand, or panic and do nothing. So I was already on the entrepreneur road, so I'm so grateful for it. I did log into the Smaller Business Administration website, look over some of the grants. They helped tremendous amount of people this year. So our government isn't all bad. They are, trying to do some good in the world. So um, we're going to take a left real quick and just talk a little bit about the authoring process of the book. So the show is about the book itself. Obviously, thank you, readers, for joining in and listening in with Clifton Bryant today about his new book. And then there's sometimes people who are chiming in that are aspiring authors, and they're listening in like, I want to write a book, but I'm not sure. And so we're going to talk about the world of just being an author. So when you first got started, how did you feel about writing a book? Like, what was that like?
I was charged up because I felt like I was doing what I was meant to do in life. It was like I had the entire world at my disposal. I can write about anything. And so when I started, I felt like I didn't have any boundaries.
Good, good. I like to hear that because a lot of times people say, oh, I was scared, or, I don't know what to do, or, sometimes you just got to jump right in. You just got to jump in and see what happens. It's not life or death. I mean, you've been on a real battlefield. So I can imagine writing a book might be just a piece of cake because you've been in a real life situation where their lives were at stake. Writing a book is not easy, but it's easier than some of these life situations that we truly have to go through. So when I hear people say, oh, I'm scared, I'm like, what you scared of? The story that has happened, especially if they're writing their life story, they're like, oh, I'm scared. What you scared of? You've already lived through it. Now you just have to write it. So did you go the traditional publishing route, or did you go the self-publishing route?
I went the self-publishing route, but initially I did look at the traditional. Um, I fell victim to being rejected. Um, and then I was rejected several times. But then I learned a lesson in life, and that was you're going to get rejections. That's not the end of the world. If you go the traditional route and your book get rejected, you get the opportunity to write back to them and say, "Tell me why my book got rejected," and then you build on that. Um,
Interesting.
in the beginning of the writing process, I didn't know about that. I learned these things as I was writing the book. And it's like I know so much now. The next book that come out is going to be a traditional book, but I know how to deal with it now.
Right.
So it's like you have to learn the business. That's you may have a talent to write, but you have to learn the business of writing because when you don't know the business, not only can you be taken, but you can get yourself in a contractual situation and have obligations well beyond the sales of your book if you're not careful.
Thank you for saying that. A lot of people think it's just, I write a book, I give it to a traditional publisher, or even like myself, I tell people I am a traditional publisher of sorts, but I don't keep your rights and royalties. A lot of traditional publishers are in the game to make more money off of you. They give you all these bells and whistles. Oh, I'll put you on this list, and I'll put you on this list, and I'll put you on all of these. They call it marketing, but you really are still marketing your own book, because if nobody knows that you're on the list, nobody's going to buy it, right? And so then they want to keep 40 or 50% of the royalties, or they want to keep the rights for the next 5 years, and you can't sell a book, you can't you don't have any say so over the book. This is my story. Why would I want to hand over my life, my very first book, to a company who doesn't even give me any kind of permissions to also be a part of its journey? Did you ever come in contact with any contracts like that, like they wanted all the rights or they wanted partial royalties, all the rights for a certain amount of years?
Well, fortunate for me, I didn't make it that far with the traditional because I didn't make it past the agent.
Gotcha.
And that's something that you have to be aware of. It's not the publishing companies that turn your books down, it's the
Hmm.
agent. So it's like if you there's a format that you have to follow. If you don't grab the agent's attention, the publishing company is never going to hear about your book.
Yeah.
And so I didn't experience the forfeiture of my rights to my own book, but I'm aware of it. The music industry deals with it. The writing industry also deals with it. And one thing you don't want is to surrender something that you gave birth to.
That's right.
That's why I say it's important you have to learn the business. Um, you have to learn it. There's other ways that you can get around not having an agent of your own. There's book clubs. If you want to become a self-publishing writer, you got to be willing to do some different things. Um, there are book clubs where agents might show up at. Okay, that's your opportunity to go there and showcase your talent. Um, you have to be willing to um, go online, use social media to the best of your ability, ask your friends, hey, I'm going to send you a link. I need you to spread this out to all your friends, and use social media to your advantage. That's how you're going to get publishing, self-publishing exposure.
Absolutely. I tell people all the time, I tell people all the time that this year I have met so many people via social media. Not that I hadn't met people via social media before, but this year, being that most of the world is still on some kind of partial shutdown, restaurants aren't fully open, places we probably would have went in the evening aren't fully open. So a lot of people are online, and someone found me by way of some other social group within Facebook, and they were all the way in some France, somewhere overseas.
Wow.
I mean, it was somewhere far, but I did a publishing seminar with them, and they might not have flown me in. I mean, I think I'm good, but maybe their budget would not have, accompanied them flying me all the way over there. But this social media allows us to connect with people you may not have ever connected with. You're way in Mississippi. I'm up. Are you in Mississippi? I'm in South Carolina. We can't just be like, hey, Clifton, come do an interview real quick. Ain't no real quick. That's a journey. And so
Right.
social media allows us to connect quickly and purposefully. Even with, with whether it's a book, whether you want to jump on and do a live, I love it. I hear people say all the time, I don't, social media is so dramatic. Get rid of the dramatic people. Get rid of the people who aren't about the business that you are about. Yes, you're always going to see something that's just garbage, but scroll on by, unfriend that person, be about your business, and find groups of people who are doing what you're doing. Do you do any kind of book reviews right now? Like with your book, are you doing any kind of groups or any kind of talks about your book, being that the election is coming up?
Um, what I've been doing was using social media. Um, I've been using Facebook. Um, of course, the distributors that the book publishing company has set up, and I found a website with tons of free advertisement for your book. And I kid you not, one Saturday morning, I was up from 7 to 12, logging onto each website and getting my book put on each of those websites.
And what's it called?
Oh, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but I can get the information for you.
Okay.
It's actually on my other computer, but it's a wonderful website. And like I said, I went through it because I want to get the maximum exposure.
Absolutely. And keep posting, keep talking about it. If you're not a household name, not just you, but me too, if we're not household names yet, we still got work to do.
Right.
Oprah is a household name and she's still out here working. And that's always told people we're never just done and like, oh, I've made it and I can kick my feet up. You can kick your feet up sometimes, but we still have work to do. We still have an impact to make. So back to your book, we talked about one of the topics being poverty. What are some of the other topics in the book that you bring light to?
I bring light to gun violence and not just people being killed. I bring light to the fact that when gun violence started in the poverty-stricken neighborhoods, nothing happened. But the
Mm,
minute it crossed over
mm,
into the suburbs, the Columbine shootings, oh, now we have CNN out there. Now we have MSNBC out there. Now the FBI is cooperating with the local law enforcement. You got mothers on TV saying that this is despicable. You got politicians on TV saying we got to do something about the gun laws. We got little kids getting on buses to go to Washington, D.C. to protest this. Had they done that when it happened in the poverty-stricken neighborhoods, it wouldn't have migrated to their neighborhood. So that's just one other topic. And then, of course, I talk about the foreign policy that we have in existence. We give away so much money to foreign countries. If we cut that in half, we can take care of the poverty neighborhoods in our own home. We
wow.
help in other countries, but it's not a question of what they're not doing for us. It's a question of why we giving them so much when we got problems here at home. When
Mm,
as our poverty-stricken communities look like a third world country, that's a shame.
yeah.
And we have the resources to fix that. And in fixing it, we will provide people with jobs. Um, that's the most important thing. They wouldn't be unemployed anymore. Um, and then, I just talk about other topics like, I talk about the gun laws. Of course, the overcrowding of the prisons and majority of them being overcrowded but by African Americans um, because of the legal system that's in place. There has to be a need for a change. And the change is that you can't keep lockers all up,
Right. That
you
part.
know. And so it's a lot of good topics in this book.
Excellent. So what are some, well, you gave us the topics, but after when it's all said and done, what do you want your readers to take away from it? Like, so if you had to give three takeaways, what would they be?
I want readers to be informed, educated, informed, and have a desire to act.
That's
I
good.
need them to be educated, and that's why I wrote the book. I need them to be informed. Hey, our government can do more, but most importantly, I need them to be willing to act because we have politicians in office that are millionaires because all they do is sit in office. We can vote them in, and we can also vote them out.
Yeah.
And that's the call to action that I want people to have. If you're not a registered vote, get registered. Use your authority. You got politicians that don't even come into your neighborhood anymore and say, vote for me and I'll do this
Hmm.
because they already know what they're going to do. And one of the things they're going to do is not take care of you. But this is how I like to look at it. If you can get on an airplane and fly to France with your wife for lunch, I should be able to do the same thing. And if I can't, I'm gonna make sure that you can't. I mean, I
Amen.
know it sounds petty, but it's
No.
like I'm taking care of you and
Right.
you're not taking care of me in return. So if my vote can get you out of office, I'm gonna do that. I'm trying to get people to understand their power. Um, you have the power to vote. You have the power to change America. But you have to get through the mentality that your vote is not going to make a difference or they're not going to do anything anyway. That's part of the trap that you're in, believing nothing can happen. As
Yeah.
long as you are a voter, you have power. And we got two crucial elections coming up. We have the presidential election, November 3rd, and then in January, we have the Senate elections. Those are the
Yeah.
elections that get ignored. And that's why those politicians are still in office. They're not taking care of you, vote them out.
Right. And we say we. I mean, I'm 40, but I can just remember from when I was a little girl. It's like we've been preaching the same thing over and over. Go vote, make a difference. Your vote counts. But why do you think people don't believe their vote counts?
Because they don't see the results. That sums up everything. As you said, they've been preaching this since you're 40. I'm in my 50s. I have
Are you?
yet to see the changes on the south side of Chicago the way I see changes on the north side. Okay, we got old houses on the south side that are boarded up. You'll never see that on the north side because they're not going to let a house sit that long. They're going to take care of their communities. We deserve to have the same rights. And that's when you see hopelessness, your life, nothing's going to change. So I'm going to
No.
go over my life, but I'm gonna live under the pretense that this is all they can offer me.
I'm gonna put you on the spot here probably, but I'm gonna just ask those neighborhoods, would they just happen to be black neighborhoods that are not
No,
being taken care of?
absolutely.
Why do
Um,
you think that and I'm putting this on when I say we, I don't have money to go, pay for a whole neighborhood to be fixed. However, that is my goal. So like if I ever when I make it, let me say, when I make it to millionaire status, I do want to turn around and fix up a corner lot or a corner store or whatever. Why do you think that the mentality of our people is that someone else should come and fix our neighborhoods?
I think
Because that's
that
what they're doing. When we say that, so anybody that's watching, so that this is full disclosure, we are speaking in black and white terms because the world right now is black and white. Caucasians take care of their neighborhoods. They put their money together, they band together, they make sure that they keep the drugs out, but then they send drugs to our neighborhood. That's a whole nother conversation.
right.
But the ABC store is not on the corner lot of a white neighborhood ever. It's always on the corner of a black or colored uh, Mexican, any kind of colored neighborhood, or colorful neighborhood rather. But you are rare to find an ABC store in any area that is over the poverty line. So if they're making more than 50,000 a year, I probably say 40,000 a year. More than 40,000 a year, you're not going to find an ABC store within a radius of that neighborhood. Within, I think the jurisdiction is like 5 miles of a high dollar neighborhood. Why do you think our world is like that? And why do
Okay,
you think we've come to accept it?
okay. There's two reasons. First, and someone taught me this. They said when white people go into a community, first thing they build is a bank,
Uh,
so they can put all their money in the bank to build the community. When we occupy a neighborhood, first thing we build is a church.
I
Because,
never even looked at it like
yeah,
that.
we build the church, and then we worship, and our community does not get built up the way a white community get built up because guess what we don't have? Banks. We don't
Thanks.
have financial institutions that will back us and say, okay, we're going to
Go
fix
build.
this, we're going to build it. And even the financial institutions that your church deposits their money in will not give you a loan because they hide behind the infamous credit bureau.
Mm.
And your money is good enough to go into their institution to be loaned out to somebody else, but you're not good enough to get a loan. So our philosophy has to change. That's the first thing. We have to change the way we do business. And second, there are investors. Do we go look for them? Because we have the wrong investors in our community. We still have, when I was a child, I remember the cool sign was up with seductive women on it. You saw another sign with a seductive woman and a man on it drinking alcohol. It
Hmm.
made it look appealing. Those are things that you don't see on the north side. You would never see that.
Never.
It's like they want a pack of cigarettes, they know where to go. Okay, we want a pack of cigarettes. No, we got to have a billboard up, you
Right.
know, and these things you don't see in prominent white neighborhoods. So first of all, there's an inequality of treatment between how we're building and how they're building, and that's something that has to be fixed. We do have a lot of black businessmen, but they're not giving back to the community. And I shouldn't say just black businessmen, but business women as well. But they're not giving back to the community. You know, in other words, they're not educating the community, and that needs to happen. Our people need to be educated.
Yeah.
Um, they need to be educated on what's important in your community, so that when you come in, when an investor come in or a developer comes in, and you lay out your plan, they can look at it and say, yeah, we can support this. But when all you do when you enter your community is talk about building a church that looks like a Fortune 500 building,
Right.
they're not going
Selfish.
to help you. And that's why we still today have the infamous church building fund, because we're too busy trying to keep up with the Joneses, and the congregation pays the price for it. We need to educate our people on business. And I said that earlier in the beginning. We must learn business.
Yeah.
We have to learn it. You can't say I want part of the puzzle or the whole puzzle, and you don't know nothing about the puzzle.
Right. Exactly. And to your point about the church, I love God and I love the church. But I'm so confused about why we're not taking business courses at church. It's all of this talk about, God being, he owns all the acres and all of that. And there's hardly anybody at the church that owns anything other than you might own your home or something like that. And rarely do you own the land that goes with the home. We don't know about home ownership. We don't know about land ownership. We don't know about business ownership, yet we're telling people to serve the God who owns everything. And so I'm so confused about where the theology is, if it, and especially because we're so set back because of our history. We can't change that, but we can change how we go forward. So while we're raising our children, and my daughter's right a little bit older than you have twins?
I have twins.
Yeah. So when you said 18, I was like, oh, he has twins. And so my daughter is getting ready to be 20. So I'm handing her business books and I'm handing her ownership manuals on how to, buy land because nobody taught me. And so, to no fault of my father died when I was 12, and my mother, she was really just raising us and picking up the pieces as we went along. So now that I have a young person, I need you to go make a difference in this world, but you're not going to know how if you don't start now. If I would have started when I had her 20 years ago, I ain't no telling where I would be. I'm grateful for the journey, and I know that everything happens for a reason, but I wish that I would have picked up business and took a business class or learned about credit or any of those things along the way. And then now I'm not scrambling trying to figure things out on this side of the journey. So definitely, I believe your book is going to be an amazing. It's going to make an amazing impact in our world. So, is there anything that you would like to tell our audience as we get ready to start closing that we haven't already talked about that may be in the book or just maybe on your mind?
One thing is the location of the ebook. It is an electronic book, so you have to go onto the Amazon website.
Okay, so it's an ebook.
It's an ebook. You go on the Amazon website, you type in what we need, book comes up, you buy it. If you do not have Kindle on your phone or on your computer, it's a free program. Install it so you can read the book. That's the most important thing. You can buy the book, but what good is it if you can't read it?
All right, how much is it?
$9.99.
Nine. That's not $10. That's it. $10.
That's it.
You
Well,
you, you give Chick-fil-A $10 every week.
exactly. No, you're absolutely right, but that's another issue that we have to. That's another topic for another day about why we won't spend money in the areas that we truly need, but we're spending in the areas that we won't.
Let's talk about it. We have time. Why do
Okay.
you think so? Then, because I run into that so much. And again, it's not about race, but we're just talking about our people. And when you say
Okay.
our people, I'm assuming you're talking about African American Black people
Yes.
having a struggle with buying things that make them feel good, and they're not willing to invest in their mental or emotional or anything for their future.
The problem is that we're trying to mimic white society, but we're not willing to put in the labor.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we see somebody with the latest fashion on, and we see them with, a stylish car, or even a book, not a book, but a handheld purse accessory, and it's the latest. We want it. Now, when we see these things, we don't remember, we don't know their situation, how they got it, what they went through, but you know your situation. If you want it the right way, you know you have to go to school. We don't do that because we don't see the education system as helping us. Um, we see it as something we're being told to do. The problem with that picture is you have to get educated. And because you're not educated, you want that quick dollar. So the stuff that you want to buy is the stuff that you want. Um, when you look at your needs, it's just a different story altogether. Your needs should always take precedent over your wants. And we just got a mindset of we want to look good on the outside, but we don't want to do the work on the inside. So
Right.
does that make sense?
Absolutely. Um, I don't even know that it's not a want. So I do feel like people want it. I
Mhm.
just don't think they want it enough. And as a woman, as a Black woman, sometimes I do feel like it's harder. Um, and it's a strain. And sometimes I do feel like my sister, who is Caucasian, she's still my sister, but she, my Caucasian sister gets something like that. And my struggle is 10 times harder for this much room. And I think at the point, some of us are like, I want it, but do I want the stress that's going to go with it? Do I want the struggle and the strain that's going to go with it? So then that's not all. Now there are, because when I sell a book, I mean, my book is $15 or $20 and it's actual in print. I'll get people tell me, I don't read. That bothers me even more than the fact that you don't have the money, or you have the money and unwilling to invest it. So you have the money, but you're sitting here telling me I'm so broken, or I'm so beat up, or I'm so defeated that I won't even take time to read something that's going to help me. Not that you can't read. They'll tell me I don't read because I don't like to read. Ain't no way that we struggle, our ancestors struggle to get us the ability to know how to read. And you standing here telling me I don't read. And so it's almost like a fight of the wills in here. It's like, I have the $10. I know that your book is going to help me, but do I really want to invest the sacrifice that it's going to make, that I'm going to have to make the change? I think that's the problem. I don't think the money's the problem. I think we have the money. We all have $10. When I say we have the money, I want a mansion and I don't have the money for that. So, so in perspective, we don't have the money for everything that we want, but for most things that we need to get to the next step, we have it. I think it's separating because for the duration of a lot of our life, we were in poverty. It's a mentality. So if I was raised in poverty, 10, 12 years, up to 15. I, watched my mama, write bad checks, or I watched us struggle. That brought that same mentality into my adult life, right? Now
Right.
you're asking me for my $10 and all I got is 20. Even though me giving you that 10 is going to unlock something in my mind that's going to get me maybe 200. But because I had that poverty mentality still sitting on me, still in my mind, that if I let something go, so when I get it, I spend it. And I see people all the time bragging, people get money during tax time and it's gone in a month. That poverty mentality, that's why they're not that's what they saw their parents do. So until we go into our communities and rip off this poverty mentality that's now on grown adults, because that's all that happened, is they saw it as a child, were raised in it, and then they became what they saw. So if someone's watching this broadcast right now, and I believe in change. I was messed up 10 years ago, 5 years ago. I've been messed up, and I've needed to change something in my life. So someone watching this saying, you know what, that broadcast was great. I want to change. I don't want to have a poverty mentality anymore. I want to go in the direction that will allow my life to flourish. I want to read your book. So that's one. He told you where to go get the book. Number two, what would you tell a person that says, you know what, I want to come out of that poverty mentality? What would you tell them?
I would tell them that if you want to build something, whether it be as small as a model sailboat or as big as a car, you have to be educated. You want to come out of poverty, you want to change your mindset, you have to be educated. Because without education, and it looks twisted in our society because we see people educated working at McDonald's flipping burgers with degrees. You need the right type of education, which is what you want to do. Um, I'm not against studying the Bastille of France. I'm not against that. But if you're going to school to be a doctor, I think you should be studying medicine. It's the same way. You have to get educated. I can't beat that enough for somebody's head. Even in the African American community, it was once said that the best way to hide something from somebody is to put in the book, because
Yep.
people don't want to read. And they don't want to read. The number one reason why they really don't want to read is because they don't see change. What they don't understand is change takes place one person at a time, starting with you. And if you want change to occur, you got to change first. I learned that a long time ago. Even dealing when God was dealing with me, I learned that a long time ago. He don't fix situations. He fix you, because you may not realize you're the problem. So he fixed you first, and then the situation second. I'm a stickler for education. I just have to keep. It's like I'm beating a horse that I hope is not dead. You have to get educated on whatever it is you want to do. A lot of people think that they can be a musician, like a rapper or artist, and learn how to sing. But when you look at the people in the studio, they went to school for that, because it's no way you're gonna sit here and turn knobs, and no, they went to school. Somebody educated them. And that's the second thing. You have to be willing to learn. Because it's one thing for me to tell you go to school, it's another thing for you to want to learn.
Want to learn. Y'all hear that? He said want to learn.
You have to want to learn. Because once you get in that mindset that I want to learn, then the last thing won't be as difficult. Sacrifice. There's nothing free in this world. You're going to have to shell out something. You're going to have to give up something to get what you want. But it's not free. And as soon as you stop thinking, they owe me, and instead think, what can I do to advance my dream? You'll be all right.
That's awesome. Well, those are some great tips. Like you said, he's trying not to beat the undead horse. Educate yourself. And that simply means go learn something that you don't know about what it is that you want to know about.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean you got to go enroll in some $30,000, $40,000 program or college or whatever. This world is literally, I told my daughter this the other day. I said, y'all act, and y'all know I'm country, so I can say y'all. And when I'm saying y'all, I'm talking the younger generation. And I don't know, you can attest to this. Maybe you could tell me a better version of young people, but young people have literally the world at your fingertips, and you act like you still don't know stuff, or that you don't have the ability to go find it out. We didn't have Google. I had a Britannica encyclopedia,
That's
the
right.
whole 24 set. If I
24.
wanted to know something, I had to go research it. I had to go to a library and sit there and run through all the books till I figured out which one had the secret sauce in it that I could use to finish my paper or whatever it was that I was doing. You literally have a escape in your hands, and you're in front of you. We're on these computers, and you act like life is just so hard. This ain't hard. This is a cakewalk. I don't know, do your daughters do they ever, get you in the mindset like what are you talking about? Like, this is easy. This is not hard. Go look it up. Go figure it out. Like, you have YouTube. My daughter does hair, so I'm like, if I had YouTube when I was doing hair as a young adult, man, I'd be rich. Like I would be so rich right now because literally on YouTube you can learn anything. My car, I needed to know how to, and it wasn't the oil, it was another something under the hood. I went on YouTube. I put in the part that I needed to know about. Somebody was on there telling me, oh, I need to know how to put the little thingamajigs on the battery. That's how, look, that's girl talk.
Yeah.
I need to know how to put the thingamajigs on the battery. And so I looked it up on YouTube. Bam. Somebody is always somewhere teaching you what you don't know because they've already excelled it. Clifton has this amazing book telling you, and I'm not a politics person, but the book sounds like it's simply and well written enough to a person that's not in politics can understand the terminology. You use everyday scenarios about what's going on in our world, and I can't wait to read it. What's the title again?
What we need.
What we need, and we all need some kind of education. But what is it that we all need? Because you said it was really about the Democrats listening to the people. But what do we all need? We all need someone to listen to us. What else do we all need?
Well, the first thing is we need someone to acknowledge our needs. So they know
Acknowledge our
we want to
needs.
listen. The second thing is we need them to provide the funding. It's not just whether they're Democrats or Republicans. It's you have the funding to
Yeah,
change my circumstance. I am not asking you for a handout. What I'm asking you for is opportunity. It's a big
that's good.
difference. Um, because the crowd that you run with sit there and talk and say, can we increase social welfare by $25 last week? No, I need opportunity. Um, I can't pay for education because I'm working and I don't make that much money and there's no grants out there for me. Okay, I need opportunity. I need education um, free for me because I'm working, because I want to change my lifestyle. I think the final thing that I would like to see is people getting involved. You see what's going on, and in the book, I comment on this all the time. I say, we um, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. We have to get rid of that mentality. We got to get involved. You see something that ain't right, say
Say
something.
something. Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
we have to do that. And when it comes to politics, if John Doe been in office for 15 years and he has not done nothing but what, build one bridge, he has to go. Because the message that we need to send to them is, we put you in that position, we can take you out.
We can take you out. Sounds like something my mother used to say to me. I brought you in this world and I can take you out. Well,
Exactly.
we thank you, Clifton, for being here today. We probably could go on and on and on, but I won't hold you over the hour that I promised you. So if you ever want to come back, you just let me know and we will do another interview. I wish you well on your journey as an author. Speaking of your journey as an author, give new authors just some encouragement. I like to end with, if an aspiring author is watching and they're just getting started and they're really shaky, you weren't shaky. You say, you know what, I'm excited about this. And I like to hear that. Give them some motivation on getting started.
Okay. Brainstorm. I learned this from Spike Lee. Spike Lee said, just sit down and write. Give yourself 2 hours a day. Just write. Don't get caught up in this topic. Get caught up in putting it on paper, getting it out of your head. Later on, you go back and look at it and say, okay, what was I thinking? Or you can say, that's a good idea. Let me focus on this. That's the first thing I would tell a new writer. Brainstorm. Second thing is stay the course. Um, if you go out telling people that you want to write and they discourage you, you will listen to them. Stay the course. You want to write a book, write your book. Ain't nobody else's book, it's yours. You write it, you finish your project, and you move on. Finally, educate yourself on the publishing system. If you choose to go ebook, educate yourself on it. If you choose to go hard copy, educate yourself on it. Know the ins and outs of the business. Yes, it takes time, but this is for your protection. And
Those are good.
enjoy what you write.
What was that last one?
Enjoy what you write.
That's right.
Because if you
I
don't
love
enjoy it,
those.
if you don't
Enjoy
enjoy
it.
it, the reader's not going to enjoy it.
I tell people that all the time. What you put in it was what you get out of it. I remember crying when I was writing mine. So I'm just using as an example. And I'm just crying through the whole thing. And I remember God telling me, I'm going to return your tears to you. I don't want them back. I'm thinking literal. And so I remember the first book I sold, she messaged me and said, I cried through the whole thing. It was so beautiful. I'm so thankful for your testimony. He returned my tears to me. And so I say that to piggyback off of what you said. Have joy when you write your book. Whatever your emotion is that you put in that, if you put fervor in there, that's what you're going to get out. If you're excited about it, that's what you're going to get out. If you're like, if you're sick of it already and you're still in the writing phase, even if you're in the publishing, if you're already sick of it, you probably want to take a step back away from it and say, you know what, let me rest a minute and then jump back in. But thank you, Clifton. Those are amazing tips and motivation. Let the people know where they can find your book again, where they can find you, and where they can stay connected with you.
Okay, my book is on Amazon. You go on Amazon website, type in what we need under uh, ebooks, Kindle. It's important. You go to Kindle, it's a list. Amazon has like a laundry list of options. You click on ebooks, Kindle, and then type it in. It's going to come up with no problem. Um, I can be found if you're interested in talking to me. I have a email address, and it is cliftonb2@gmail.com. Um, I will talk to you about any topic that you want to talk about. And of course, I live in Mississippi. So if you're ever in the area and you say, I just want to visit, give me a holler and I'll see what I can do. I live in Jackson, Mississippi, so if you're on the other side of Mississippi, that might not be possible.
And what about speaking engagements? Are you open to coming out to people's different engagements and speaking about your book and different topics?
Oh, absolutely. I would do that. Um, I don't have a problem with that. I love to talk to people. And whether it's promoting my book or promoting somebody else's book for them, I'm game.
Good. Excellent. Well, thank you again for being here. Thank you all for joining in, and to author. If you are interested in publishing, you can hit me up. I will help you publish your book. If you're an author and you're interested in doing an interview, you can hit me up. My email is publish, PUBLISH, the letter U, 00 @gmail.com. And I also give free publishing consultations, no charge to you. We just sit and chat for a few minutes so I can help you stay on the right track. Thank you for watching Author to Author, and we'll see you next time.